Well, that great funky playing is from the Haas Sisters of the USA, who were international guests at Cresfest in country Victoria in 2023. Welcome to this Cresfest world, and my name's Neil Adam. Cresfest is a folk and roots music festival in Creswick near Ballarat, which takes place at the start of April each year. Helping organise Cresfest has led me into all kinds of amazing conversations and experiences, and these podcasts are inspired by them.
If today was not a crooked highway, if tonight was not a crooked trail,
if tomorrow was such a long time, then alone mean nothing at all.
yes, and only if my own true love was waiting,
I could hear her heart softly pounding.
yes, and only if he was lying by me,
I'd lie in my bed once again.
Hi and welcome to episode 18. Today I'm going to be talking to Chantel Lever, who's the co-owner of the Odessa bar at the Lever's Hotel in Creswick. A few years ago this place was an empty former fish and chip shop. Now it's a vibrant wine bar, music venue, a central place for a lot of things that happen at Cresfest. What would possess otherwise perfectly sensible people like Chantel and her partner Cam to embark on a project like this? In the last two interviews, by coincidence, Karen Fields and Jeffrey Williams have both referred to this great little venue. Karen said it was the kind of place and crowd that encouraged you to open up your heart as a performer, and Jeffrey said that he felt like he'd really met his people when he played there. The music at the start of the show and in the background here is a duet from Martha Spencer and Archer from Martha's most recent album. It's a Dylan song called Tomorrow's Such a Long Time. They'd performed at Lever's a few days before Chantel and I spoke, so we started talking about that night.
there's beauty in that silver singing river,
There's beauty in that rainbow in the sky.
but none of these and nothing else can touch the beauty,
That I remember in my true love's eye.
yes, and only if my own true love was waiting,
I could hear her heart softly pounding.
yes, and only if he was lying by me,
I'd lie in my bed once again. I'd lie.
in my bed.
To people who don't know Lever's and the bar, explain why two, I don't know how to describe them, old-timey musicians, country musicians, I don't know how you would describe Martha and Archer, but anyway, why do they fit so well in here?
I mean, mainly because they're top class musicians, so they're going to be able to pull that sort of magic.
Yeah.
And I think that this place, the oldest building, so it's the oldest building in Creswick, and it's got a lot of history, a lot of energy. So Gold Exchange Bank, then a hotel, Leeks Hotel, a brothel, and this place would have had that old-time music. They would have had music and the miners and the locals here from 1856. And so the building itself is absolutely conducive to that kind of feeling. It feels like you're in a different country.
Yeah.
For me, it feels like I'm
Yeah, it does.
back
When you're walking off the street, it's a completely unexpected physical environment
Absolutely.
to be in, isn't it? Really?
It is. When we got it, it was a fish and chip shop, Bob's Cozy Corner. And so everything you see here now was covered up.
Yeah.
It was sort of white walls, orange tiles, big exhaust fans. And when we started stripping it, what we realised, because we knew it was the oldest building, was that the old building hadn't been ruined, it had just been covered up.
Yeah.
And so we thought this was going to be brick, because it's all brick in the back. And, you know, me and my friend, she's a builder, we started pulling it back and she goes, Shani, you've got stone.
Yeah.
And I couldn't believe it. And we started going more and more, and all the walls were stone. And then the shingle roof was there, and the old wallpaper appeared, and the fireplaces, like just finding old brick fireplaces. It was such an incredible period to just reveal slowly the place.
Did you know when you bought it
No.
that you were thinking that it would be good to run a bar here, or were you thinking it would be a family home, or what were you thinking?
We didn't really have any thought. We bought it accidentally at an auction. There was no
How do you buy something
I know. It's a pretty mad...
You put your hand up thinking you're hailing a taxi and discover you've bought a building.
I was actually on a pension. I was bringing up children. I'd been sort of a single mum, and we came to the auction. We thought it was in Trentham. Cam said to me, would you like to come and see this old building at auction in Trentham? And I was like, okay, because I don't remember auctions back home in England for buildings. So I thought this would be a good experience.
Yeah, I don't know. I've never been to one.
No. And then halfway to Trentham, it's like, oh, actually, it's in Creswick. And so we turned around and came to Creswick, and we came in here and the whole place was full of people. It was such a hot day, because a lot of people had come to see it being auctioned off, because it had been here for 10 years without use.
Yeah, right.
And so I thought, oh, this is just, hot. And, halfway through the auction, it started, I said, should we go? Too hot. He goes, I might as well wait till the end. So I'm just sort of sitting there. And then he said, passed it on, And I was like, what does that mean? I was like, no one put their hand up. And it was a really sort of low price. I think it was sort of $2.90 or less than that. And I was thinking, maybe they do that to get the interest up, to go a second time. And they're like, no, that's it. So I chased him and said, I'll give you that for this. And then he goes in the back room. And I got in the back room and I'm thinking, what have I done? Like, this is just, I've got no money. I don't even know Creswick, I didn't. And then he came in and someone else had offered 10,000 more. And I was like, oh, thank God, I'm out. And then Cam went 310 or something. And I was like, oh no, we're back in. Standing there. And he came in and he said, it's all yours.
Meine Schwester ist nicht gern träge.
In between Chantel and me talking about how they come to be running that bar, I'm going to play some music by bands who are performing at Levers at Cresfest 25. We're going to start off with the Bees, a German-Australian duo who have the most incredible repertoire. Here's a song of theirs called Ich liebe Musik. I love music.
Ich liebe Musik. Ich liebe Musik. Ich liebe Musik. Ich liebe Musik. Für manche ist es krass.
So we didn't know, but there was that thing of the oldest sort of run-down, crappiest building in the best location. We had that. And so we knew there would be something, but we didn't know how much had been destroyed.
Yeah.
And we found out that actually nothing had been destroyed. The fireplaces were literally just covered up. The walls were just covered up. The wallpaper was just covered up. So they did a really good job of maintaining the old, even though they probably back then needed to do it for health and safety, or if you're running food from in here, or I don't know why it was covered up, but it didn't look like this either. No. So the render came right out. So it was very, we had to by hand, pull back the render slowly with brushes so delicate. And there it is. And as I said, my friend Annabelle, very lucky, she's a builder. She's built her house, she's built for other people, and she was right here with me and a couple of other girls. We were doing it. And actually lots of people have helped us. Cam's dad, Yurik, is an old school carpenter, and Uncle Michael in town, he's just loved it. He did the roof, and it was a nice project.
Like a community project.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Well, it certainly has that vibe now. I mean, if you come here during the week when there isn't a gig on and it's open, you know, there are locals sitting around the bar. It's just like any other little country pub, you know, with the age.
Absolutely,
you know,
yeah.
Whereas so many places have been renovated within an inch of their lives and the history is lost, as it was here. You've taken all that renovation out and put it all back.
Yeah, and you'll probably remember this as well. I've modelled it on locals from back home. So I have my local back home. Everyone had their local back home, and your local is just an extension of your lounge room.
You're talking about England?
Yeah, in England, yeah. And up in Scotland as well. I was in Ullapool for a while.
Yeah.
And something happened in town, everyone would go there to meet, to talk, and to, you know, if there was a crisis or, you know, and it was an extension of your lounge room. And I wanted to do that. And what I've found by doing that, so making it a local for the locals, is they create the vibe, and then people from out of town come in, and then instead of expecting that sort of 5-star blah blah blah, you know, boring kind of thing, they get to experience the locals in the local town in their local.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's not the best, but a lot of the times they love it. And I also have found that a lot of people, because it took a while to renovate and got to know the locals, who would generally not go out, feel very, very comfortable to come here on their own, and they've met lots of people. We've had lots of people find relationships here, married here, and women. That was the main thing for me as well, that, you know, women can just walk in here on their own and they're always going to be safe and comfortable and meet other people. And so it's become like a meeting spot for people who don't have that social, or didn't have that sort of real social outlet.
I played piano with Archer at a quite remarkable gig here, not like anything I've ever done before. So Archer rang me in the afternoon and said, I've just agreed to do this thing with Chantel, and will you come and play piano? So, you know, we had a very lovely evening making it up. But the most important thing to say about that was that it was a number of local families who've got kids with disabilities of various sorts.
Yeah.
And
it was the Scope Social Saturday.
The Scope Social Saturday.
Yeah.
Talk about that a bit.
So Scope Social Saturdays is where the young adults and children and even older adults, anybody within the Scope family, do social Saturdays, where they go somewhere socially on a Saturday, and they use their own sort of money, so independence, trying, you know, to order things, etc. And they asked if they could come here, and they love music, and I said, yep, absolutely. And so I quickly tried to organise some music, and you know, who better than Archer, and absolutely just blown away, you know. So that evening was them being our priority, and then anyone else that wanted to join in had to sort of, it was a mixture, you know, of the locals and music lovers, but the night was for the Scope family, which meant that they could do whatever they wanted.
Yeah.
You know, there's a lot of...
Including play the drums.
Play the drums.
There was
how
a young woman
incredible.
who got up and played the drums, and how incredible was she?
She was amazing. Absolutely amazing. And, you know, from that there is a drum kit that has, you know, she's just got that natural rhythm. And the dancing, you know, and the ability to feel comfortable with whatever, you know, that was their space.
Yeah.
And I loved that evening.
She came up to Archer in the break, the young lady, and she said she wanted to play the drums. And Archer, of course, being the kind of person he is, said yes. I probably would have said, oh, maybe not this time. Or, you know, I would have been... But Archer, you know, doesn't have that requirement. And so she came up and joined us in the second half, and she was fantastic. And Archer, during the songs, was talking with her, and at one stage she said, so you must have a drum kit at home, he said over the PA, and she said, no, I haven't, I haven't got one. So Archer then said, is there anybody in here who's got one sitting in their shed? And somebody at the back said, yep, I have. And so at the beginning of the next week, probably. So the drum kit made its way to her sort of in the next week somehow, that you managed to organise all of that. This music is Kofi Kunkpe and his associates. Kofi is from Ghana, born in Ghana, lives in Melbourne, and this is some of his great music that you'll be able to hear at Levers in Cresfest 25.
I guess that kind of social requirement that you've built up here for the place to have that community angle in its work, that makes me want to ask you about fostering.
Yeah.
Because I'm very interested in that.
Yeah.
And I don't think I've ever known anyone pretty well before who's been a long-term
Yeah.
foster parent. How did that come about?
Accidentally.
A bit like buying the property.
Things just pop into my life. I was living out in the bush with my children. I was a single parent, and one of the boys next door was in care, and he would just come to mine all the time. He was just at mine, and he was part of our family. And then eventually he asked if he could live with us, with me and the kids, and I said yes. And so I had to call up and say, "Hey, I've got your kid." They said, so I went through all the, the checks and and I looked after him for a while, and then, after that there was another child that needed somewhere, and then another one, and then another one, and what I found over the years is that there is such a desperate need for carers in this area. Such a desperate need for carers. The department and the whole system is very stretched because of a lack of carers. And I never used to tell anyone that I did it, and then I started to, because I'm like, if I can do it, anyone can do it.
Wow.
It's like I hear a lot of people saying, I wanted to do this, or it's like, well, there's so much reward for you doing it, for seeing the differences you can make.
I guess if I'm a parent of, Judy and I have brought up our children the best way we could. It's not simple being a parent to your own children, and I guess there'd be a lot of people like me who would go, wow, I don't know if I've got what it takes to do that.
Yeah.
What would you say to someone like that who said that?
Yeah, look, obviously there's sacrifices. When I look back, your time, etc., and your children. But what I would say when my children were little at the time is, when you've got 3 children, I wouldn't actually recommend it if you've only got 1 or 2. I don't know. If you're 3, you can have 20. Actually, doesn't make that much difference. Just buttering more bread in the morning, I say. And I had that. That was where it was a little bit easier for me, because I had these little ones, and then I had the bigger ones. And those big ones, it was like one rolling little family. The big ones would look after the little. They actually just went off, and it's like sometimes easier. I'd literally just butter more bread in the morning, make extra food. They all were a family, and they're all young adults now. And then I went back in with a couple of little ones, and I had another little one, and they're just like brothers and sisters, So it is that community. I think, we've lost a little bit of that in our culture. I know in India it's very different, and other cultures it's very different. The children are all together, and they're brothers and sisters, and there's the women and the parents are all together, and they live in that sort of village community, and you wouldn't know who's the mum in some of these cultures with these children. We've lost that a bit. And so that definitely comes back when you have a whole group of children that you're looking after. And especially if they're a bit older, because they are very capable. It's just literally putting a roof over their head and helping them navigate that sort of last bit in their journey of childhood. So I would say anyone thinking about it, they desperately need carers, and you just go to Berry Street or CAFS or just to the department and try. One of the things I always hear is, I'd get too attached, I can't give them back. And I hear that a lot. And I think probably when I was younger, I would have had the same sort of thought process, but the boys I had then were a bit older, and there was no going back to anywhere. And with the younger ones, I am so happy that they have gone back to their mum.
Yeah.
Your goal is for them to be with their family, because that's that's the first, priority. And if it's safe, it's such a great feeling. And that doesn't mean you don't ever see them again, I've built up great relationships with the mums, and I've got the kids coming for the school holidays, babysit for her, and the department are going to put them back if they're not safe, so that's what your goal is. And so you do have to have a level of non-attachment, because you have to have a balance of knowing that this might not be permanent. However, you can go for permanent care, so you can just go and or if you're not sure, you can go for respite, and that's just sort of helping when carers need a break, or if so there's lots of different options, and there's a lot of children out there that need that. And I guess if we stop with that sort of insular mum, dad, mum, dad, mum or dad, and 2.4 children in our little houses, in our little thing, and we kind of open up to go, actually, we are a village, really. It might, because they need carers, and they need right carers, and it is a commitment, and but it's it just seems like why wouldn't you?
You have to trust me. Tentative. Your mind's in jail with mine. Your mind in jail with mine. Seems safe at the time. Don't close your eyes and fall back on anyone. Don't close your eyes, it burns mine. When I see it done, don't close your eyes and fall back on anyone. Don't close your eyes, it burns mine. When I see it done.
That's the Dead Salesman duo. The Dead Salesman, a great Ballarat band of long-standing and very well-known and greatly loved in the local area, performing as a duo at Cresfest, and they'll be performing in Levers and, of course, other places across the festival at Cresfest 25.
Take care with you. It's all I can say now. It's all I can do. And if you have to trust me, just like me, your mind in jail with mine. Your mind in jail with mine. Seems safe at the time. Don't close your eyes and fall back on anyone. Don't close your eyes, it burns.
There's been great gigs where the musicians have played and the kids are all just lined up there watching. And I think it was Ernest Ains we had, and he just put into one of the boys I've got all his energy. The guitar, signed his guitar. They both signed the walls together, and he showed him how to play, and he just spent this time with him. And there was another, it was Cresfest, I can't remember who was in the back in the green room singing to Charlie, and Jason Jones showing him how to play fiddle. So music for the children,
Lovely.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a great thing. One of the great gigs that I came to here last year was Slava Gregorian.
Yeah.
So that's obviously one of Australia's best known musicians playing solo here in a bar in Creswick. How does that come about? Because like you describe fostering, and you describe the importance of children, you describe running community events and being a community facility, and turning it into a place which has now got a reputation as a first-class music venue doesn't necessarily fit in easily into all of that. So how did you get there?
So we started off, and it was a bar, and we had local music, and And 8 months in, COVID hit.
Yeah.
And we weren't entitled to anything because you had to be a year. And we were pumping by then, like a new bar in town. We had beautiful Ben in the kitchen. He's world-class chef. Stopped. And then we sealed it off and we used it as our own space, which was amazing too. And then those periods that we could open, a lot of the musicians that were touring around on a roll we're back in Australia, and we got our first break with C.W. Stone King, who's my hero. I just love his music, and I'd seen him once play at the Palais, and Archer had supported him. And, I just kept sending videos of the bar and his music playing, like, please. I never really, I just asked, and he did, and he came. And it's because of musicians like him that take that risk. It's a risk.
Yeah.
You're in Creswick, it's a pub, people think it's a pub, and these are highly reputable musicians. You know, he sold out in 2 minutes, and he sold a second show out not that long after, but we only did the one show, so there was a waiting list. So, and that was like the scariest day for me, because I had to, I couldn't believe I was just getting sort of, because he's big for me, you know. And
of course.
Wow, it was such an amazing gig. It was just like one of those magic gigs. And so the poor man now, we've just we had to have a of him then from then on. Like, see how he's doing a photo, So then I was just go, well, if he's played there, we should check this out. So it kind of started to build up like that slowly.
Yeah.
I have to do a lot of the asking, and I'd have to do a lot of the, like, most of the time I don't get a reply back then, but I just keep putting it out there. I've done it with ridiculous bands. They were Gillian Welsh and Nick Cave and stuff. We're going to get a reply, but so I started like that. So slow build up, and then I was very, very fortunate to one of Carol Ann, one of really renowned music industry woman, as you know, came to town, and she's been in the music industry for years. Yeah. And she introduced me to the music industry, really. Introduced me to her friends and contacts, and we went to a Big Sounds. And she's just been so incredibly generous with her knowledge and her contacts that she's built up over years. And so that's how I was introduced to Slava Gregorian and lots of other artists. Also very lucky with Archer. So Archer has been in the industry as well as a musician, and so he has these incredible friendships and relationships, and so it really does rely on the reputation of these people, because they know, well, it's trust, And then once musicians have played here and they do have those experiences that we have here, which you have to be here to know, the pin drop moments, I always call them, where the place has got 80 people and it's silent, and those gigs to then come back, and they come back and they spread the word, so it's like a snowball.
Oh God, I've tried, and I keep hurting both you and I, and I've been down thinking about how I might die. My life's burning like a candlelight board, and my heart's fighting 'cause I thought I whored, and I keep turning to wine when there ain't no.
This is fabulous duo, Great Aunt, who've been touring all around Australia and in the States in the last 6 months, and they're going to be performing at Levers and at other Cresfest venues in Cresfest 25.
I'll be turning to water. Oh, won't you save me from myself? I've been trying.
For some of these artists that are there, coming and playing here, I've had a lot of feedback is coming back to when they used to start off in these little venues, and One of the artists said, she was up there, and when you're in a stadium, they're there, the audience is there. She goes, here, they see everything, they hear everything, they're right there, and it's a really great challenge for some of these musicians to go back that and to do it, and they have,
It's such a special thing. Judy and I played a lot of big festivals, probably over 20 years, and we much prefer playing in small venues to small crowds. And the whole setup of Cresfest is because here was the town, it had all these little rooms, very few of them ever used for any kind of public anything. And at the same time as, you were trying to work out how to turn this into a venue and how to take the plaster off the walls and all of that stuff. Judy and I are walking around from place to place trying to work out if we could find the key to the town hall. Which nobody had used for ages. So it really was a meeting of minds there, and it's been very important for Cresfest, quite honestly, because during Cresfest you have your own mini festival happening in here, different acts sort of every hour on the hour or something like that. And we've had such fantastic events. After a weekend of rushing around, I came and sat in here at about, 4 o'clock or something on the Sunday of Cresfest, and I watched the cherry pickers play in here. The place was absolutely full. I mean, you say 80 because that's probably the legal limit, but I reckon there were more than that.
No, the legal limit is 100.
Oh, okay.
And we do have that for Cresfest. It's just comfortably seated, for a Slava gig.
Yeah.
But it is.
Honestly, that cherry pickers gig, I would have been sitting, 3 meters at the most away from where the band was. Absolutely sensational experience, you know. And it's like that the whole weekend.
The whole weekend.
Train keep rolling, I'll be on my way from.
I had this great conversation with Chris Stout. So you'll remember that Chris and Katrina were here a couple of years ago, and Chris in particular is one of the stay up late and carry on until there's nowhere open in town. But he contacted us to say, they wanted to come back to Australia from Scotland, and it all depended on whether there were gigs available in here. Were you still running the place? Was it still functional? And all of this. And he had other little side things happening, like, for example, a concert with the Sydney Symphony Orchestra, and then something else happening in Adelaide with some symphony orchestra over there. But actually the centre point of the whole tour was coming here.
That incredible playing is Chris Stout and Katrina Mackay, marvellous Scottish musicians who'll be playing back at Cresfest in 2025. All the musicians you've heard in this podcast can be found on Spotify, and the entire festival program for 25 is now visible online at cresfest.com.au. There is also a Spotify playlist you might be interested in. It's got selections from many of the artists performing. Search for Cresfest 2025 official playlist on Spotify. Well, it's always great talking to Chantel, wine bar proprietor and foster parent, and it was great today to talk about music, life and other related matters. This has been This Cresfest World. My name's Neil Adam, and as the BBC presenter of my youth, John Ebden, used to say, if you have been, thanks for listening. See you next time.